Okay, welcome to In the Stiffs podcast. This is with me, Sam Aiston, and two of my former Shrewsbury Town colleagues, Sir Dave Edwards and Gavin Cowan.
Every time I got off the phone, I was like, what on earth he just said? What are my bonuses looking like? 0.
Oh, okay then. Can I just have 3 calling then, please? what is that?
Yeah,
it's just nonsense.
crazy.
Night would just pay you for wearing night boots.
They just contact you out of the blue? Or?
I'll be wearing one night boot, one Adidas boot.
But they're the thing.
And change them at half time.
What about Quasar?
We were the year before that, and we didn't even have a kitty. We had nothing at all.
I hate now we go to watch a team, like if I go and watch Shrewsbury or watch Newcastle and the fans boo at half time, that drives me mad. I just think, what is the point of you booing your team at half time?
You know, like think about what Klopp's got. Klopp's got 10,000 behind him. I've got 10.
Look at it, absolute ringer of Westy. I've looked above it, Fred West.
Equally, Dave, you're never signing for West Brom, are you? Like, because it's that can't happen, can it?
Dave, we didn't know he was available. He says, why on earth didn't you give me a ring?
Why do footballers have such crap nicknames? Edo, for God's sake. Did I go with that one first?
Oi, you albino C word. Yeah. Hurry up, you're in my way.
I think that's everything from Dave, Gavin, Judas.
Yeah.
Right, that's another question. What was the best piece of advice you were ever given as a footballer? I mean, that is massive. Gav, go on.
Don't come to me first.
Dave,
I've got a few.
I've got one because people have asked me this before, and it's rolling on from what we just spoke about, being what you're good at. So when I was at Wolves, Kenny Jack was in charge, and an assistant manager called Joe Gallen, from QPR days and things like that. Great guy, and he was a very attacking coach. So he would always work on shooting and balls into the box and things like after training with me. I was in that mindset, like you said, I always wanted to improve. So I'd be out after training, I'll get one of the kick balls that you just knock the ball up against. I'll be there with my left foot, trying to improve my left foot, bam, 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 20 minutes after training. And he pulled me one day and he's like, why are you doing that? And I was like, I just want to get better. Do you know what I mean? I want to get better. He goes, we don't put you in the team to pass with your left foot though. And I was like, okay. He goes, what do you mean then? I said, and he goes, well, you're in the team for your athleticism and because you'll get on the end of stuff in box. So all I want you to have training is just work on scoring goals. Arrive in the box and scoring goals. Do nothing else. Everything else look after yourself. You make sure you are the absolute best at this club at getting in the box and scoring goals. And then I look at my record from that season onwards. I'd always scored like maybe 3 or 4 goals in a season, maybe 5. From that season onwards, it was their first season at the club. This was in about sort of November, December time. I scored 9 goals after Christmas to the end of the season in League One. We were romping League One together, but then I followed up with 8 goals the following season, 9 goals, 10 goals, and it was all just everything I did. Do that. Connor Cody used to start at me after training. He's playing right back a lot, just whip balls in after, like ball after ball, and all it was is being more clinical and getting them time. And that was the best piece of advice I ever had, because I would stay out doing pointless stuff. I'm clipping 30, 40-yard balls with my left foot. I'm like, if it was there in a game on my left foot, I was still trying to shift it onto my right to play that pass. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. And I think that's so important for people to understand as well. That obviously you work on your weaknesses, but again, I mentioned it before. I mean, we have it at school. We do it with the kids at school. Like your super strength. If don't talk about teaching because probably people aren't listening to hear about teaching, but
I bet they are.
If we have kids who you might not be the best at English or you're best at maths, so you get them to a good level where they need to read and write and obviously have a basic understanding of maths. But what's their super strength? If it's art, if it's something with their hands, what is it that's going to be their talent? Yeah. And I even have it with my boy now, my Hugo. He's only 11, but like he's left wing, he's same as me, and he's rapid and he's direct. But then sometimes he'll try to come inside and he'll just pass. And I'm like, there's better people that passing the ball than you. You just go. And it was the same with me. I remember trying to do it myself. And I remember playing for Northampton and like wearing the number 10 shirt. Now, so I was trying to come inside and play. Well, there's a million people better than me at that. Get on the left wing and do what you are good at. Probably what Gary Peters is. I know you're laughing about what Gary Peters' comment about you bringing the ball down and passing the fullback. But basically what he's saying is, you're here because you are unbelievable in the air.
Absolutely.
So stop trying to be a player, because if you're going to be a player, I can find 10 centre-halves who are better footballers.
Well,
you head the ball.
To develop that, in the end, I snapped my cheekbone. He had Hopey, who would do that. Yeah. Hopey would head it and kick it. And I would be head it and kick it, but a little bit on my own agenda. And Gary Peters was like, no, you don't do it when you want to do it. You do it when I want to do it.
It's your super strength, innit? I think that's a brilliant bit of advice. Well, what about you, Gav? Advice from anybody?
I think I was when I went on to be a YT, I obviously got like released a couple of times, ended up at Exeter, and I suppose I was so far away from home, and because I had so many promises that were taken away from me a little bit, maybe another podcast, but I was promised a lot when I went to Exeter. None of it was delivered, and I suffered away as well from being away from home. And then when I left, again, I said it previously in some of the podcasts, obviously drifted about, went to Barnet and on trial, and then I ended up at Ipswich where my cousin was, and it was all about to happen. I was going to sign for Ipswich, and then that got dragged from me under my feet. Ended up at Braintree. Braintree ended up just me going, look, I don't mind having a kickabout, because naively I was like, oh yeah, it's only Braintree. But actually you realise now that actually there was a lot of good pros there, like lads who had played up much higher, and they were like, you're just some little mug. Do you know what I mean? Like, you come here thinking that you're just going to run the show. You're just a little muppet who we'd rag around. But I didn't realise, like, you got Lee Hunter there. You know, like Lee Hunter was like flipping like big player at the time, and he'd come out of the game. Loads of lads like him anyway. But ultimately for me, I'd been at Braintree a couple of times and started to understand, actually, this is a half decent level. And like, if I'm going to want to make any money out of the game or want to progress, I'm going to have to do well here. And then really good players then started to join. But again, as always with non-league, you get a real mix, don't you, of like the youth coming through, a couple of lads who are established that are only ever going to be around non-league, and then some of the older guys who have played at a much higher level that dropped down. And one of them was Terry Howard, the guy obviously at Leyton Orient who got sacked at half time and whatnot. But Terry was like, it was brilliant because I sort of reconnected with him recently. He was a massive, massive part of my life, because I'd gone from just being this whole, we're training, we're getting on it, going out, we're chasing girls, we're drinking drink, we're doing all of that, this whole culture of what an old school footballer would be about. And I always remember at the time I was getting loads of attention, and it was Crystal Palace and it was QPR and all of these promises that again, reason why I sort of decided to come away from league football to go into non-league football, I suppose, because I was a little bit like, well, I'm chasing that. I've had it's been dragged from under my feet so many times. But Terry Howard, I remember, pulled me to one side, and Terry won't mind me saying, he'd had his career, he was a little bit overweight, but was just a class act. So conducted himself impeccably, was the best at banter, was the best on the football pitch, was the best looking, was the best, just in every walk of life, he was brilliant. I remember him pulling me to one side and just saying, imagine if you took things seriously. And I was like, what? It shocked me, because obviously he's still a young lad, isn't you? And I'm thinking everyone's laughing at every joke, when actually people are laughing at maybe one or two of your jokes, but 3, 4 and 5, they're a little bit like, yeah, turn it in, mate. And he was just like, imagine if you took things seriously. Imagine if you actually started to conduct yourself in the right way. Imagine if you actually started to approach the game and prepare properly. Imagine if you started to recover after games properly. Imagine if you actually turned down a night out. And this intrigued me. Although I initially shrugged it off, this intrigued me. I remember we went out on a night out in Romford, and it got to about 12 o'clock, and there's a place called Time and Envy in Romford, which a few right good nights out, by the way. And he went, going home, you coming with me? And I was like, no, mate, I've got the flavour here. Yeah. I've got the flavour. Do you know what I mean? And he was like, nah. And he dragged me home, and I remember he was like, be quiet, wife's in bed, you're staying here, this is what you're doing. Woke up the next day, and his wife made us breakfast, and he sat there, and he literally went on to me for about an hour and a half about conducting yourself in the right way, being a professional. You will throw all of this away. Oh, like not the day before when he was telling me after the game. I was like, seriously, like, are we having a drink or what are we doing here? And then the next, like, he dragged me that night, and like literally, I didn't want to turn him down because he's Andy. And then that was it. Then it stayed with me forever. And he was like, he spoke to me. We played.
Be professional.
Yeah, we played West Ham in a pre-season game. And do you remember who was the guy that played for Liverpool? Oh, I forget his name. Titi Kamara.
Oh yeah.
He was at West Ham. Played against him, and we had a bundle. And he went into the goal. But I watched the bundle, and then the ball was there, and I just lethargically smashed the ball at him for no reason. Ridiculous, petulant, pathetic. And he got up and obviously lost his head. And then Jermaine Defoe come from that side, and I was like, yeah, what? I haven't done anything wrong. So I started to go back at him. And it was the week after that. So he'd then just gone like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing what you're doing. You've got all of this ability. You've got all of this potential. Actually start to take things seriously. So I would say that for me, that was the best bit of advice, is more about conduct yourself in the right way and take things seriously, because I was just so kamikaze about everything all the time. I was like, I never really believed it. And he was like, this is where you can go and what you can do. So it's great to have someone like him. What a guy, by the way.
I think it's the same thing about being professional, isn't it? That's the sort of advice. I can't think of anything specific myself. I remember lots of advice he got. You look back now and you think that was really good, but at the time you're going, yeah, whatever. I always remember one time, because I used to get, like, especially at Sunderland, we had some good people there. Remember Brian Pop Robson? like legend. It was Man U and all that, wasn't
Yeah.
We're playing in a reserve match, and Bobby Saxton shouted something at me. I must have been like 18 or 19, and I've rolled my eyes on whatever. So I've come in at the end of the game as a 19-year-old kid, and Pop Robson, I'm in the Sunderland dressing room, just lined me up, and he's gone, who on earth do you... I'd been subbed twice. Who on earth do you think you are? You are absolutely nobody. You've done nothing in the game. And this is Pop Robson, he's a legend, West Ham and that. You've done nothing. Absolutely just ruined me in front of everybody. I've never had a bollock like that in my life. So I'm in the shower afterwards, and Pop Robson's coming. He's going, where's Sam? And I thought, Pop's coming in. He's going to say, sorry, Sam. Went a bit over the top there. So I'm in the shower I'm in here, Pop. Here's the apology coming. He's coming again. I still can't get my head round it. Who on earth do you think? He's just gone for me again. And he's gone for me again and absolutely hammered me going, who on earth do you think you are? And I thought... And I always said, when he calmed down about 3 days later, I'd absolutely rinsed me. I was thought, and he said, never be big time. Always treat people with respect. You never, ever give it the big one, whoever you are. And I thought that was a big thing that I always had in my head. One of the Twitter comments we had, by the way, I'm going to mention this now.
Yeah, go on.
When we were asking for questions, somebody said that I was in town one time, and I said, do you know who I am? That is absolutely never, ever happened. Either, so that
were you burning £50 notes at the same time?
How many times? How many times you hear those stories?
Those stories drive me.
There was another story about Joe about that. Joe Hart doing that, burning
such
£50
a load of
notes.
nonsense.
Who on earth makes these things up? There's no way I'm in Shrewsbury and I went to the bar and I've gone, do you know who I am? You'd never
bloke at the bar goes,
say that.
No.
Not unless there's a new lager called it.
Yeah, do you know do you know who I am, please?
You would get hammered for that. We used to say, it's Sunderland, we used to say, Mitty Gray used to say that. He didn't, but because he was a good-looking bloke and he was big time, we used to go, here he is, big time. Mitty Gray's just said, do you know who I am? He never said it once. I remember reading that about Joe saying he's burning £50 notes in the club. It just doesn't happen,
I always remember speaking to Titus Bramble, and he was like, I'd heard all these stories about Kieran Dyer being in a bar in Ipswich, and he's like, yeah, he got knocked out. Kieran Dyer got knocked out. I went, all right, what's happened there then? Yeah, he's burning £50 notes at the bar.
No chance. I know Kieran Dyer in Newcastle, and he's a nice lad.
Well, I spoke to Titus. I was like, what's happened with Kieran? He went, what do you mean? I went, apparently got knocked out in a bar burning £50 notes. He went, no, he played a game. He was so dehydrated he fainted at the bar. I went, what's happened about the £50 notes? He went, don't know what you're on about,
I don't know
mate.
where he's
so dehydrated he fainted at the bar.
I'm sure somewhere there's a genuine story where somebody has been annoying or another.
Yeah, of course.
But in football, that was unforgivable. And that, do you know who I am? Was that even when I was 18, you knew not to say that. Yeah. And I've never ever heard a footballer in my life ever say, do you know who I am?
And what would
but
you?
Apparently, someone on Twitter said I said it in Shrewsbury somewhere. I don't know where I was. In Monty's Tower.
If you were me and you said that, I'd be
the
like,
bomb would have gone. No, mate, and I would have gone. Oh, okay then. Can I just have 3 Colin then, please? what is that? Yeah, it's just nonsense.
Crazy. Ridiculous.
But that's also part of it. That's the downside, I suppose, of football. And the bigger you get, I think people come out with comments like that, which is nonsense.
You must have had it tenfold, Dave.
You get people. I've always found on night side, probably more in Shrewsbury than anywhere else. People, I don't know, they want to have a pop at you for something. Usually,
This is
like the 1%. Not even that. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's so lovely. Then you just get someone and you can see just eyeing you up and down. You think, I'll stay out of your way. I don't want to say anything to you. I'm just being myself. But they just want to have an argument for some reason. Yeah, you just have to do your best just to ignore and get out of the way. But
it's ridiculous. I think that was the problem sometimes. When I remember when I first signed for Shrewsbury, I would get that, but obviously at the time I wouldn't stay out of their way. So that was, and you get yourself in trouble.
I think that was one of my first experiences at Shrewsbury, walking in, and obviously someone making a comment, and then and not really understanding the fact that they didn't understand my reaction. They sort of just expected that there was nothing going to be said. So like you say, it's being able to cope with that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
This is a good question. How much say did you have on the contents of your contracts? Did you leave it to your agent, or did you get involved with the small details? I can tell you about my first contract with Sunderland, where I signed anyway 175 quid a week as the first year pro. But when I signed, after I'd played Ipswich and Liverpool, I got offered a new 3-year deal from Peter Reid, and he put the contract in front of me, said, this is what you'll get this year, this is what you'll get the year after, this is what you'll get the following year. There's the pen. And I just went, okay, and just signed it. There was no agent.
Thank you, Gaffer.
Yeah, I went, thanks, Gaffer. And he went, all right, and good lad, you'll start getting involved with the banter soon. Have a good time. See you tomorrow. Okay, Gaffer. That was it. There was no agent, anything like that. I mean, that would have been 1996. No, probably not even that, 1995, probably. And that was how it was done back then.
It was still when I was coming through, it was the same. So so I had 45 quid a week, what you'd have as an apprentice, and then I got into team as soon as
45 quid a week? £42.50 I had.
I had gone up there. But then, so in our the conference, it must be in the back end of the conference season. So I was 17 then, and Jimmy Quinn said he was going to offer me a new contract, and I was thinking, get 300 quid a week here, and I'll be buzzing. Like, I was living off 45 and saving a tenner a week. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So the 300 quid a week, I thought that'd be amazing.
If you save a tenner a week for the next 72 years.
And then he offered me a 2-year contract, 150 quid a week. And I was playing at this time. I remember looking at it and thinking, okay, he goes, oh, by the way, if you don't sign it, you'll be back with the kids next week. So I was like, okay then. Yeah, signed 2 years deal.
It was
black or blue ink?
Yeah. But you know what I mean? I've been playing, I thought, I'll get 300 quid a week here. But
what about those, Dave, obviously, as you got bigger? See, so when you went to Reading, so when you went from Wolves to Reading, would that have been the most difficult contract, the biggest contract, the most complicated contract?
Yeah, that was... None of them were ever complicated. It was just always saying to your agent, just make sure I'm not stitched up at all. Do you know what I mean? They look at it. They get lawyers to look at it.
That's fair, isn't it? That's
just
fair.
Make sure we're not left open to anything, basically.
When did you get an agent then? So obviously you didn't have an agent when you said it's
not that first contract. My first contract after that 150 quid a week one. Me and Joe both got the same agent that time. Yeah, the same agent that time.
Was that Houdini?
And then I always had an agent after that. The only things I would ever be mindful of is clubs putting options in your contract. So I'd always make sure that the option, you didn't really want an option in there.
Option,
but
mate.
They would always chuck it in, and you can negotiate a little bit on
just for the listeners. So an option would be you'd get offered a 2-year contract, but there'd be a third year as an option. But that option would be if the club wanted to take that option. Yeah. So basically, always. As a player, you've literally, it's the worst. Like, it's pointless because if you're doing well, the club will keep you. If they don't want you, they'll get rid of you. Which is exactly what would happen if you're out of contract.
But if you're doing well, you're expecting a pay rise. Well, they don't have to.
Yeah, they don't have to because they've got an option on this.
They have to pay you the exact same or more. So
but it's usually agreed, that usually one's agreed though, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not obligated to pay you anymore. They have to pay you the same as what you played that previous year.
So mine was always just trying to work out that option. And to be fair, at Wolves they always wanted it in. So you try and negotiate somewhere else, but you just needed to understand where that was. That was the only thing. But they're all sort of.
How much of a say when you you'd signed a couple of big ones with, say, Wolves and then Reading. How much of a say did you have? Did you speak to your agent a lot? Did you give them an idea of what you wanted?
Yeah, but then it always came down to it. So I always thought that I know you're talking different sorts of money, but I always felt at Wolves that I was on nowhere near the same money as what other players were on. They would bring in players from other teams, and they'd be
which always happens. Doesn't it?
On bigger money. Yeah. But then I was playing every single week. Do you know what I mean? I was the one who would take all the stick. Do you know what I mean? I'd be the one who they would send out to do interviews after we lost 2-0 or something like that. I used to front a lot of stuff. And I got to a point, Paul Lambert was in charge. He took over in like the November, December time. And I'd been talking about a new contract from the start of the season, and they were just going to give me the same amount of money and then just extend it. And I was like, no, I deserve more money now. I definitely deserve more money.
Would you know what the other lads were on? Or you'd have a rough
idea.
You
have a rough idea, and I knew I was pretty much middle to below average, and I felt like I was much more important figure. Obviously, strikers will get more money and things like that, but I thought I was definitely undervalued. So I kind of held out, and I thought, right, I'm going into my last year, I'll just see how it goes. Nothing really got done, and then Paul Lambert came in, played 2 games under him, and he pulled me into his office and says, so you're out of contract in the summer, how can you not sign a new contract? I said, well, I'm on this, they've offered me this, but I think I deserve that. He's like, you're asking for that? Yeah, he goes, no problem, I'll sort that.
No, I should have gone higher. Actually, whoa, stop it.
And then literally, this shows the manager power, because I told the previous manager this, and they were like, we'll try and sort it. But Paul Lambert just come in. He obviously liked me, and he had obviously gone to, I think it's Kevin Thelwell at the time, who was at Wolves, and next day said, yeah, that's done, you can come in and sign it.
But managers will pretend it's the chairman's fault a little bit, won't they, I would imagine. Like, the manager might have gone, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
The chairman's on me about this. It's difficult. Yeah. I had the same. I mean, when I went to sign for Grimsby, I didn't sign. But Russell Slade, he actually said to me, Sam, we'll offer you this. I know the chairman's going to do that. You say this and I'll knock you down a little bit in front of the chairman because it looks good, then everybody's happy. And I was like, it's all a bit of a game.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, go on then. But so
in terms of the actual the words and in the contract and things like that, it's all pretty standard, isn't it?
Yeah. You have like things like you can't do extreme sports and all that sort of stuff in there. But what about
can't drive a moped on holiday and stuff like that. Remember that one?
I don't know. I mean, I broke that one a few
times. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But what about appearance money? What about when you're in the Prem? How much is appearance money compared to basic? I mean, when we were kids at Sunderland, we won massive appearance, massive win bonuses. More appearance and win bonuses were more than my basic wage.
I think they were obviously a lot more than what you are in sort of in the other leagues, but they weren't like more than what your basic would have been and things like that. And a lot of it was around at Wolves in particular. You had to play so many minutes and things like that. It wasn't just like if you're in the squad you get that. You have to come on, and if you come on after 75 minutes, you don't get your money and things like that. So the amount of times we stood on the side ready to come on at 74 minutes, you're like, come on,
Gaffer. And he's struggling, Gaffer. He's struggling.
Literally, as soon as it turns to 70,
I'll sit down now. I'm not bothered.
They literally, that's it. You don't get your money. So you'll see lads warming up for like 60 and 70 minutes, going for it. Then literally, as soon as it goes past 75, they just go sit on the bench.
He scored two in the last 10 minutes and win the game 2-1.
Didn't get your appearance, though, did you?
Yeah. Premier League. Yeah, it's obviously more. But when I was in the Premier League, little things like Nike. If you wore Nike boots, Nike would just give you money for every game you play in the Premier League. Wearing a pair of Nike boots, you get the money, regardless if you're signed with them or anything like that.
Nike would just pay you for wearing Nike boots.
They just contact you out of the blue, or
I'll be wearing one Nike boot, one Adidas boot.
But they're the thing.
And change them at half time.
What about Quasar? Anything from Quasar at all?
But we kind of. As we missed, we're so lucky for what we did, but we really missed the boat. My era, in terms of the money you look at now, if I played in the Premier League now, in the same Wolves team I played back then, I'd have earned probably 5 times the amount of money as what I earned when I was in there. But also the big thing was, so you get a kitty when you sort of get promoted, so you get a pot of money. And the year after we got promoted, Blackpool had a kitty of 5 million, and that would get separated pro rata between the teams. So if you get promoted, there's a 5 million pot the chairman's given. They know they're getting loads.
Is that just the lads, or is that the whole?
No, that's just the
staff?
that is the lads. Just the lads.
Wow. That could be 22 lads.
Yeah,
possibly.
So that's just the lads. And I think Blackpool put it and thought we're never going to get promoted. Yeah. 5 million.
Oh no.
Yeah. But they would have got, however, they would have got like 100 million or whatever. Yeah, so they didn't mind paying it, and then that'd be pro rata. So if you played every game, you're probably getting 300-400 grand. Do you know what I mean? Which is like unbelievable. But
good holiday, isn't it?
And then since Blackpool did that, most teams do that sort of money. Like now, it'd be up more around 10 million now. Yeah. Honestly,
everyone's blaming Blackpool.
Whereas, but we were the year.
It's worth it for the club, isn't it? So it's like it's.
But we were the year before that, and we didn't even have a kitty. We had nothing.
I'll get a couple of crates of beer for the bus journey back.
So just before we got promoted, we said we need something, lads. We need something. Yeah. So I remember
you're gonna get 100 points.
Speaking to the chairman, things like that, he's like, right. I think he put like 20 grand aside, said go to Vegas with that or something like that. And at the time we were happy with that, like hard buzzing. But literally, if it was a year later or 2 years later, I played 44 games that season.
Are we going to cry River here for Dave?
But it'd be nice.
But money different. I mean, when we went up as Sunderland, I remember. I think I ended up getting something. Come out with like 10 grand as a promotion bonus. But at the time, I was 19, so I'm absolutely like 10 grand. I'm like flipping it. Might as well have been 10 million.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like.
Wow,
that's me done. Yeah. That's me never needing to work again.
Yeah. Paid a mortgage off.
I took all my mates to buy an apple. I was like, come on, we're going.
I did that. I took mates to Dublin, but like you look back and you think, like nowadays, you win the championship. Stupid money, like you say.
And in the championship, you're already beyond 20-25 grand a week in the championship anyway, and then you'd be. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
All my mates are fuming. They're listening to you. Take your mates to Iron Apple. You took your mates to Dublin.
Gav never took us anywhere.
That's sorry.
What about agents? Like who are having? Like when your manager Telford. Yeah. Do the lads all still have agents then? When you manager Telford.
Yeah, it's quite exasperating really, because I suppose it's a level where you've got, again, just going back to it, you've got a group of lads that obviously they're on the ascendance and they want to do well and they're building and so they really buy into that idea of it's a bit of a derogatory term, but I call them the washbag brigade. Those guys who almost act like they're already there. And a part of me likes that because they've got the arrogance, it might be the wrong word, but the arrogance to, I'm there, I'm going to be this player, and they've got that belief. But then you've also got like those lads that are just totally delusional, and I call them the Washback Brigade. But then you've got the lads who know that they're going to be non-league players, and then you've got the lads that I suppose again who have had good careers and sort of are coming down the level. So you often see it with lads who are really young lads who are really sort of green and naive.
And do they they're getting an agent?
Yeah,
for the kudos
and what I will is, like, it's hard on agents because I know some really good guys who are agents. There's a local guy called Paul Coates who has some high profile players, but he's a good guy. Yeah, Coates is a good guy, and but he's also got a lot and a massive stable of young lads he don't take a penny from, I suppose. And
but he's investing his time.
Yeah, and I don't know this, and there's a lot of agents as well. There's like Jay Gordon who I know well as well, and like I just use those two as an example because what they tend to do is have sort of the relatively high profile ones where they make their money, and then what they do is they really invest in these young lads. But I suppose the only negative knock on effect from that is that the young lads really buy into, speak to my agent, and I'll go, speak to your agent.
We're talking between 300 and 350.
But we're talking about 125 quid a week and a standard contract of a year. What are my bonuses looking like? Zero. Yeah. Like you're not getting any bonuses.
It's not difficult. We're not
Come
trying
in
to look at
and do well, and then maybe what we'll do is look at you at Christmas and go, right, well, you deserve more. And it's quite exasperating, really. And again, I suppose really I was a good example that when I'd gone to Braintree, I'd stung really early doors because I'd sort of been at Exeter. And when I went into Exeter, they'd gone, right, we're going to offer you this and YT and a year pro. So obviously come out to the lads who I live with and gone, yeah, brilliant, been offered YT and a year pro. So obviously signed the contract, being really nice. My dad was like, yeah, brilliant, all signed, move it. Didn't even read it. And there was no pro in there. So obviously like the lads are like all going, you lied about the fact that you had a year pro. And like to this day, me and my dad sat in there and they were like, yeah, we're offering you the rest of your YT in a year pro.
That's where the agent has the value, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
That's where the value comes.
I was done.
Did they use agents or solicitors now?
So the agencies will have solicitors and law people in the company, yeah.
And like obviously me and my dad really, and like my dad will blame himself, but not at all really, because it was like £42.50 a week, then £47.50 a week, and it was 90 quid for my first year pro. So obviously I'm telling all the lads I live with and and so straight away I'm on the back foot because they're going, why are you lying about getting a pro? And I'm on the phone to my dad on the payphone in the digs going, that pro's not there. He's going, what are you talking about? Like, I was there. I was like, did you read it? And like, got paused. It was like, okay, we'll go then. And he was like, well, I don't want to go. And he was like, I've moved up, I've done this. And I stung pretty early. And then funny enough, I went to Braintree. Richie Powling was the manager at the time. And he'd done the whole, he put the contract in the top drawer. So obviously he'd gone, I was like, Gaffer, I've not had the amount of money that I was expecting. He was like, oh no, it's in there. I was like, no, it's not. And then obviously this went on and on and on. And in the end, I was like, look, I'm going to have to phone the PFA or the FA or whoever to back my contract. And he went, this contract? Opened his top drawer and went, you mean this? Hadn't even sent it in. So obviously, again, like I started to think, oh, hang on a minute. But I never really believed that. I always felt as though I had the capability to go in. I held my own. When I got into the league and started to talk sort of bigger money, I felt as though then my cousin at the time had a good agent called Terry Rowe. But Terry spoke really quick. So I never understood anything that he ever said. So he'd go, yeah, I've just spoken to Notts County Insurance on there, so the Shrewsbury and the county and on the far side, so you can make sure you're ready. And I'm going to get you a year, going to get you an option, and almost like he'd be like, and it's going on the outside, it's coming on the inside, it's coming on the outside, like he's almost commentating on at Cheltenham. Every time I got off the phone, I was like, what on earth he just said? So I just had to trust him, and he got me a great deal at Shrewsbury, and I'm in debt to him for that, and a couple of moves. And then in the end, obviously went back into non-league, and I was like, don't really need an agent. Yeah. And like people would say, you're talking about half decent money there, money that people can pay mortgages with and make a living for. And I was just like, I can do this. Because again, like you say, it's very basic. What am I going to get? Am I going to get a year? Am I going to get appearance money? Am I going to get a clean sheet? Am I going to get a win bonus? Are we going to have a team win bonus? You've got to be
careful, though, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because
the option thing was the only thing I ever...
If you've got an agent, though, and he's got like, if an agency, they've got a stable of 50 players, they know what everybody's getting, so they can pretty much tell you what...
But you expect an agent to be able to, if you're out of contract, to be able to sort you out a club, and that's what you want them for, and that's the one thing which really let me down. So when I left Wolves, it was kind of happened really quickly, and all of a sudden they'd accepted a bid off Reading. I remember speaking to me, he's like, yeah, it's a great deal, go down to Reading, you'll love it. I was like, you spoke to anyone else though? He was like, yeah, but Reading's the best one, kind of thing. And I kind of just took their word for it and went down. It was a great deal, and it was a great club. It wasn't right for me at all because of there's so many logistical things, which it wasn't the right move for me, but all happened in a weekend, went down and did it. But then about 3 weeks later, we're playing Cardiff at the Medeski Stadium, and I'm stood in the tunnel ready to go out for the warm-up. And Kevin Blackwell, who was my manager at Luton, he was the assistant manager of Neil Warnock at Cardiff. He comes to me and says, "Dave, we didn't know you was available." He says, "Why on earth didn't you give me a ring?" And Cardiff got promoted to the Premier League that year. Yeah. But I don't think they'd have been able to offer me the same money. But I knew for a fact the way they played suited me so much better
Cardiff,
than what
Welsh
Reading did.
International.
Cardiff, Wales. And like my agents and that, they hadn't even picked up.
Was the agent mates with someone from Reading?
I think that's, you don't know. But I just took my agent's word for it. Whereas if I'd have picked up the phone or just waited a week or something, then if I could have chose probably anyone in the Championship, it would have been Cardiff just for the Welsh thing and the way they played, Neil Warnock, things like that.
Same thing, Dave. So
devastated I was.
So obviously, I come away from Shrewsbury, and like, I suppose it was sort of not indoctrinated, but like I was really plugged into me. Like, yes, okay, Bury are there, Macclesfield are there, Aldershot, Barnet, all of these League Two clubs, but Grays is the club. And financially, I'm not going to lie. Financially, it was astronomical.
Again, financially, if you're getting the most money there, then that's your agent's going to be getting the most money off, isn't it?
Well, exactly. And it was like back to Essex as well. Yeah. So all of these things were sold to me, and I was like. And I remember this is when Gary Peters had said to me, don't do it. And he was saying, no. I was like, Gary, listen, good luck. Went and done it. And then what I'd realised was 8 months later, I'd been paid for 3 months. So I actually refused to go out and play on the football pitch like 10 minutes before a game was due to kick off. And it all kicked off then, and it was massive. And in the end, the PFA ended up helping me out. That, again, massive shout out to the PFA. They've been really good to me. And they got me out of the club. And it's obviously 8 months into a 3-year contract. You're devastated, aren't you? And then obviously the agent then gets back onto me, who was brilliant, who'd got me the move to Shrewsbury, who had been really good, negotiated contracts, was always in contact with me, all of these brilliant things. And he was like, you're going to have to pay me that, like, I've got to pay off. So he's always, you could get 30 grand, couldn't you, tax free. So we ended up having this conversation about how I was going to get out of this like 2 and a bit year contract and what they were going to pay me. They're going to pay me in instalments. And obviously, saying to Terry, by the time they've paid me this, it's going to equalise itself. I'm not going to come out any better. I'm actually going to be away from home, still living with my mum and dad. I've still got my furniture in storage. It's an absolute logistical nightmare. And he went, yeah, you're obviously going to have to give me 25% of that payoff though. And I was like, what are you talking about? I haven't been paid for 12 weeks. Like, I'm absolutely hanging out my backside here. I haven't got 2 pennies to rub together. And he was like, no, you're going to have to pay me. I'm your agent. And I was like, but you get paid this amount 3 times a year. Why is this any different? I've not been paid for 12 weeks. And then again, going on to the way he used to talk and he just talk absolute jargon. And in the end, I went, Terry, you're being insincere, you're lying. And I just put the phone, I haven't spoke to him since, because I was happy to pay him his money. But then it's that other side of the agent, isn't it? Where they take control and they start going, well, hang on a minute, you need to pay this. And I didn't feel like it was right. And I ended up coming out like losing money out of that gig in the end.
So these days, everybody has an agent throughout the whole of the Football League, and even in the conference, and even the Telford Conference North, people still have got agents.
Some have, and sometimes it's...
I say most kids as well. So you as a kid, you can have an agent from the year of your 16th birthday. So literally any kid at an academy will have, like in talking a Premier League academy or a Championship academy, they will have an agent from that year of their 16th birthday.
Game to be in then, isn't it? What we're doing a podcast for? Let's become agents then.
Agency.
Another question. Pew was a free. How does it make players feel when fans get on your back or boo you? Shall I go with that one first? Yeah. I mean, I think it depends, doesn't it? I mean, if it's your home fan, I hate now we go to watch a team. Like if I go and watch Shrewsbury or I watch Newcastle and the fans boo at half time, that drives me mad. Because I just think, what is the point of you booing your team at half time? Boo them at the end of the game, not a problem. You're booing at half time, you come as a supporter.
But then they cheer them out when they come out second half, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a nonsense. I think you hear it. Anybody who says that they don't hear that if they're getting booed is lying. But I think if it's from the opposition fans, it's a compliment. Don't let that worry you. But it's from your own fans, of course it affects you. I think it's impossible. For me,
there's no positives can come out. People who say, people react from it and get the best out. That wasn't my character.
I don't think many people do that from their home fans.
Yeah, like if you're getting booed off your own fans as a team, it makes you more nervous in possession, 100%. You're more likely to take an easy option as a pass. Don't want to be the one who's going to try that forward pass and give it away. So you play a little bit safer than what you usually would. Yeah, there's nothing good that you understand why fans do. They pay their money. They want to be entertained. You understand it.
I think you do at the end of the game. Yeah. I think that's fine. But
it's not gonna. You're not gonna get a positive reaction. Not a reaction. You're not gonna get a positive outcome from booing. I don't think.
I mirror all of them thoughts as a player. Totally, like you say, you don't get any good out of it, and it always makes players a little bit more tentative, a little bit more subdued. I think as a manager, it baffles me, totally baffles me. I do not understand the concept of coming to a game, even if you're losing 2-0 with 20 minutes to go, for example, what possible positivity can come out of berating players, getting on people, getting on managers. I mean, obviously being a manager in the technical area and stood at Telford, obviously it's a...
What was it like being a manager then compared to a player?
Well, I never wanted to hide. So if ever it was difficult for the players who were having a difficult game, I wanted to stand at the front of the technical area because I wanted to be...
And in the technical area, you're right next to the fans.
Yeah, right next to the fans, especially there as well. They gather there, and I wanted to be there because I wanted to be the target. I wanted to be the target because I felt as though if I was the target and I got most of the stick, it would take it off the players. And I was always big on that. I was always big on trying to protect the players and trying to make sure that they had absolutely all of the tools to go out and perform the best they could be. So I would often, when it got really bad, I would stand at the technical area and they'd even say, get back in your box, get back in your dugout.
You're good with stuff like that, though, aren't you? I know you never reacted, did you?
No. What I will say is I understand when you call them supporters, and I don't want to take that away because it's their club and it's their love, it's their desire, but it's an unhealthy relationship with football because, like you rightly say, if they support the team all the way up until 95 minutes and then have their say, I get that. I totally get that. But in the moment, I remember being the manager at Telford and we'd had 3 games on the spin. We'd won 3 games on the spin. And then we had a home game. And we went 1-0 down in a game after 5 minutes. And I cannot tell you the amount of abuse I got. We'd won 3 games on the spin. Gone 1-0 down. It's like circumstantially, like football is precarious. Gone 1-0 down. We dominated the first 4 minutes and then they'd just gone up the other end. Caught us on a counter. Obviously devastated. But long time to recover, isn't there? Long time to adjust, understand what the opposition are doing, try and make a few adjustments to get right. And it's just this, sort them out, Cowan. It's not good enough. You know, just this berating, just constant. And in the end, and you say about reactions and that, I think what you have to do is you try and overcome it for as long as you can. And in the end, because it's so on top of you, my whole thing was like, if I can't handle fans at this level, how can I ever expect to be at a high level? You know, like think about what Klopp's got. Klopp's got 10,000 behind him. I've got 10. You know, 10 guys.
You're trying to start a fight with every single one of them.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, of course. And the thing is, you do get frustrated because you think if the barrier wasn't there, you wouldn't say a thing. You know, and they almost feel like entitled to be able to say those things. But again, it is football, so it's almost accepted. Yeah. Whereas actually, half of these guys I see in the street, and I make a point of going, all right, hello, mate, all right? And obviously they look at the floor and they've got nothing to... And it's the same old thing. And it's like, well, if the barrier wasn't there, you wouldn't have anything to say.
As a family, you feel you've got a right to say everything, don't you? It's like the whole cat and thing is that you can see...
But you haven't.
I'm going to say anything I want.
And if it's about the team, I suppose there's an argument for that. I would argue against that. And I would say, like you rightly said, end of the game. You know, you want to go on, like they want to go on social media and do what. Again, I don't see how that's positive, but I understand at the end of the game, you want to make it wasn't good enough, wasn't a good performance. And again, I think all of that's in perspective. You know, if you win 3 games on the spin and then you have an off day and get beat at home, okay, well, let's not talk about that game. Let's talk about the last 5 games. But obviously, all that goes out the window. We'd be here all day talking about that. But I think from my point of view, I've never really understood that mentality of just completely berating your manager, berating the team. And I think that's a problem. Like for me at Telford, I would say there's 95% of the supporters who I've just got a brilliant relationship with, who are so supportive. Like, I don't want to sit here and just go, oh yeah, being a manager's a nightmare. You get absolutely battered because it'd be easy to focus on the negativity. Actually, there's 95% of them who are absolutely different class. And even now, I've got loads of them that messaging me constantly, like, hope you're doing well. You know, all of these, because they understand that the job that you're doing and they understand the intention. You know, if people want to say that you were good at the job, brilliant. If they say you weren't good at the job, that's fine as well. But they understand the intention was to make the club the best it could be, instill a mentality, instill an understanding of culture. There was a big thing going on there. You may be talking 1-2%. People who haven't got a great relationship with football, who really live to go there, and even if you're winning 3-0, wow, he's playing, he's not good enough again. And there's always, but ultimately, you're now in the devil's playground, aren't you? Because the moment you even start questioning with those 1%, you're forgetting about, or 2%, you're forgetting about 90%, 98%. So my whole thing was to be like, they've never got anything good to say. And almost I used to take it as a compliment that they're coming to watch my team. You know, they've got something to say about what I'm doing. But then there was 98% who were absolutely brilliant. Like, I'm so fortunate to have had a good chairman there, good board, great supporters, real community there. And I don't want to think of 1 or 2% that have just made it a bit of a nightmare. 1 or 2% and focus on them. Go, I can't stand that club because of that 1 or 2%. I actually think it's brilliant, and it was a great experience because of the 98% of them. So that's the focus I wanted to have. I think,
Dave, what Gav's trying to say is we don't want any negative feedback of the podcast, and if we get any, we're not going to take it very well. Is that what I'm trying to say?
I'm happy for any feedback.
With one little thing on the fans as well, I think home fans don't realise how much that inspires the away team as well, because you go to certain grounds as well. Like I said about Sunderland to you, a place like Leeds, the team talk before the game is, if you get this crowd on their back after 10, they'll go.
Mate, at Telford,
it's Newcastle away. It's Newcastle away.
I know it's different levels, but let me just tell you, in the Conference North, it's exactly that. When you play for Telford, like, you have to be a certain player. When I played for Telford, you have to be a certain player to play for Telford, because you know that the opposition are coming with 25% more on their game than they would have when they played Farsley away, Southport away, whoever away. When they come to Telford and they play at the New Bucks Head, they are bringing 25%. They turn up and they go, change room's decent, pitch is nice, ground's nice, fancy a bit of this. I can actually pretend to be a real footballer while I'm here. And that's what they do. Did we speak about Aldershot? I used to love going to Aldershot, loved that ground. Went in our stadiums, didn't we? And I used to love it, because if we kept them quiet for 20 minutes, they'd turn on them. They'd implode. The fans would get on them. Same at Telford. And like, not just Telford, obviously, it's a compliment, really. It's a compliment to their stadium, to the history of Telford. It's actually, teams would go there and go, we're playing at AFC Telford. What a touch. I can actually pretend to be a real footballer instead of playing away, for Farsley, Celtic, or, which, again, with the greatest respect, have all got a right to be in that league, but perhaps haven't got the ground and the facilities and whatnot. Being at Telford, I used to say to the players, you have to be a specific type of player to play here. If you're not able to deal with the fact that teams come and play 25% on top of what they're normally capable of, might as well go home.
And that goes through the levels, doesn't it? Because like what you said when you were playing for Wolves and you're in League One, Dave, that straight away the fans are on you because they're expecting you to roll teams over. Sunderland have got the same problem now in League One. They're expected to roll teams over. And if you're getting beat 1-0, and that used to be, it's a team talk everywhere you go, isn't it? Get at these 20 minutes, the fans will get on their case.
Yeah, and that's would have been loads of teams at Wolves being that go with that attitude, because you could sense it as the home team, and it's not going well. You just sense that the fans are ready to go.
Yeah. Especially in League One.
The fans are amazing.
League One,
even the Championship as well. But I like playing in that atmosphere. I learned more from when I went to Reading, and there's no pressure on you there because the fans don't care. Well, it doesn't feel like they care as much, or as many care as much, I should say, as at Wolves. Whereas at Wolves, it was everything. I've got mates who run businesses in Wolves, and they say, if we lost on a Saturday, Monday morning, it was horrendous.
Your name's mad, yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas if they won on Saturday, brilliant. Can't wait to go to work Monday.
So again,
it's like that. It affects the city that much.
And again, so we're talking about, like, in order for you to play for Wolves, like you said, Dave, you had to be a specific type of character, a specific type of player to actually go there and go, we know that whoever FC is coming to play here, knowing that they're playing against Wolverhampton Wanderers, they're bringing their A games. We've got to bring it, like, you've got to be a specific type of character.
It's more they'll have a game plan, like you said, for the first 20 minutes to upset the stadium. That's what they'll be thinking. It's not so much coming to Molyneux's obviously amazing, but all the grounds in the Championship are amazing. So it's not like they're coming and think, right, this is incredible, we can play more. It's more, the game plan is 20 minutes. Let's get at them, but let's just try and take the energy out of the crowd.
And keep it tight, not be negative, but just keep it tight for 20 minutes because the fans will get on their case because they're not getting shots in.
Yeah, and it's an underhand compliment, isn't it? And like I say, being the manager at Telford, obviously to a lesser extent of what you've dealt with, it's an underhand compliment, but it was always a massive, massive issue. It was a massive issue because teams would want to play there and as well, when it's not going well for you, like obviously it's not at the moment for them, teams do want to go there because not only do they get the good ground, but they feel like it's a soft touch, and they and that's where you've got to find the resilience. You've got to find the characters. You've got to have characters in that situation, haven't you?
It's from Shropshire Tenor. One question: why do footballers have such crap nicknames? Edo, for God's sake. That Edo thing, we never called you Edo. I didn't know Edo, but everybody calls you Edo now, don't they? Like the lads you played with from Wolves. But at Shrewsbury, no one was Edo.
No, it wasn't until I went to Wolves and just it stuck there. But everyone has nicknames.
There's always an O, isn't there, or an E?
Yeah.
Davo.
Well,
Edsy. I've never really had a nickname.
I mean, you've got names for each other, Gav.
You've had Sloth, haven't you?
I was going to say, you've had Jack Charlton.
You've had
Chris Evans, you've
had Rocky Dennis, haven't you?
You've had Mark Wright, not the one from Gunny Beers Essex.
Anyway.
But yeah, we have that. But like, I don't know what nickname.
What can you do with Gavin Cowan other than the obvious?
Gav.
All right.
G to the C.
G to the C, or Gavo, or Gavi.
You just had Ed, or the one.
It just came, yeah. There's
Sammy lad.
They're usually a take on the.
All right, Sammy Mon.
There's usually a take on the surname, isn't it? But one that sticks out for me at Wolves was the physio. And talk about having an unfortunate nickname. He's the masseur, and I've gone in first day. Hiya, Dave. Nice to meet you. I'm Westy. I'm like, how you doing, Westy? Fine, brilliant. Been there a couple of months. I've just noticed one day he's treating me, doing my ankle or something like that. And you know the staff have their initials on their jumper?
Yeah.
It says MJ. Westy. So why can you got MJ on your top? He goes, it's my name. What's your name? He goes, Mark James. Like, Westy though? What? I thought your name was like Mark West or Westwood or Wesley or something like that. He goes, you taking the piss? And I was like, no. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh shit. I was like, he goes, do you not know why they call me Westy? I was like, no. And a few other lads kind of started gathering around me as well. Thinking, oh no, what's going on here?
Oh no.
What's going on? And like a few lads, honestly, Edo, you don't know why you call him Westy? I was like, should I? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, one of the boys gets their phone out, starts Googling, shows me a picture on a phone. Look at it, absolute ringer of Westy. And I've looked above it, Fred West.
Oh, that's horrible.
And I knew of Fred West, but I've never seen him. But he is an absolute ringer for him. So that's an unfortunate nickname.
Yeah, that is a horrendous nickname. Yeah.
It was that you had at your club. I thought, no, he wasn't even at your club. I went to Gal's to the party and he's called Doc, your mate's Doc.
The Doc, yeah.
And like my wife went, who's that? And I went, oh, it's Telford Club Doctor. She went, what? Is it sure? I went, yes, Telford Club Doctor, Doc. And she was like, really? I went, yeah. I went, Gav, he's a Telford Club Doctor. And he went, no, what are you on about? What's his name? Why is that?
So
why is he called Doc?
Just something I came up with. So his name's Mark Sherville. So he's the golf pro at Lillishall Golf Club. So him and his wife Lisa, they run.
Yeah, I was showing him the swelling on my knee and everything.
Yeah. But yeah,
you had your rash out.
Mate, can you have a look at that? You got any cream for this, mate? He's like that. Who's your mate? Who's your mate, Gav?
Give us a strap in on this. I don't know what you're on about, mate. So yeah, Mark and his wife Lisa run the. They're both golf pros. Both been on the PGA Tour and run Lillishall National Golf Club. So yeah, I was introduced to him, but he does a lot of life coaching as well. So obviously, a lot of performance coaching. So understanding the person, the player, and I just felt when I went into Telford, obviously it was something that I needed to try and get around. So I had good staff, but yeah, without touching on it too much, me and the staff had agreed to sort of put our wages back into the playing budget in the first year. So obviously with that, tried to convince him as well, look, we haven't got a lot of money, any chance you could come on and try and be that. And he really believed in what we were doing, but he was one of those guys that would go around the players and just get to understand them a little bit more.
Why is he called Doc?
Yeah. Get into it. So he would try. He would try and it's really simple. It's a bit boring at the end of the day, but he would just speak to the players, try and understand them a little bit more, feedback to me, understand what they've been doing at home and all of that. And he would just things would be better when he would speak to the players. So he would almost make everybody better, feel everybody better. So I just call him the doctor because obviously he would always.
Oh, right, so it was based on him being a doctor.
Yeah, basically.
I'm not a million miles away.
No. So he was the Doc. Yeah. So I ended up just giving him the nickname Doc. So in the end, like you say, Dave, a lot of the players would come in and be like, call him the Doc, and someone would call him Mark and go, why did you call him Mark? That's my name. Oh, right. I thought you were Doc. No, that's my nickname, Doc. And yeah, so he was the Doc because he
didn't get rid of me rash anyway.
Yeah, that's still there.
Right, let's have another
one. Great guy.
Got a couple left. Who were your worst away fans and why? I think we covered that one a little bit. I mean, I said Swansea and Cardiff. I think we've covered that.
Swansea for me, flipping out. I stabbed
previous podcast. What are you, Dave? Oh, you said when?
I'm still running down the street in Swansea in my pants, in my dreams, in my nightmares.
What, the video of it? Who was it?
Oh, Serbia.
I can't watch that video.
They say worst fans. They're not the worst. Most hostile places to play. But yeah, that was intimidating. But I think the worst fans are when you go to grounds and they're half empty and you can't get an atmosphere in the stadium. I'd much prefer to be at...
Had loads of them, Dave.
But I'd much prefer to be at, say, Swansea, which is bouncing, even though it's intimidating and stuff. At least there's an atmosphere there.
Going back to that game at the Vetch, it was brilliant on the day, wasn't it? And obviously when they were parading the John Tosh acts around the pitch and Catherine Jenkins was singing and all of that, it was a bit carnival-like, wasn't it? And the game itself was, but we destroyed them, didn't we? We battered them and lost 1-0. It's just when it started to get around 70 odd minutes and they were like climbing on the walls and that, and then they were shouting whenever, it would go deafening quiet, and then someone would just shout in this like thick Welsh accent, like I can't even remember the things but it would be chilling, wouldn't it? And I was thinking, and I was playing left side right by the tunnel, and I was thinking, flipping it, it's a good job I'm there, because I'd have been gobbled up by this lot.
Millwall was, I know they got a reputation, that was always a tough, bad place to go.
Yeah.
And the fans at times, we had a lad called James Emery playing at Wolves, and he had left Millwall to go to Wolves. He got absolutely hammered. Even this once we played there, and we had the physio, the two physios. So we had two physios come to the game with us. Someone's gone down injured, and then they've had to go on treatment. They've had to go off the other side of the pitch and then walk right around to come back. And they came past the Millwall fans behind the one goal. And one guy fell,
Schoolboy,
very, very light hair and glasses, and the other guy, Carl. He wasn't even fat, but he had like a bit of a belly on it. But he was solid. But he was honestly, you'll see, he wasn't that big. Anyway, they're walking past behind the goal, and to Phil, who's got the light hair and the glasses, they're walking slowly. One of the fans says, "Oi, you albino C word, hurry up, you're in my way." And the other physio, Carl, started laughing. He says, "Don't know what you're laughing at, you fat bastard. What have you got in your bag? Sandwiches?"
It's brilliant.
Them two cracking up and walking back.
And I bet they loved it. Did you play at the Den, Sam, or the new Den?
I think I played at the old one. I think I've been sub at the new one as well.
I played.
I'm saying, I can't remember. You talk about games, and you think I can't play that many games. In the end, you can't remember.
I played at the new one. I remember one of my mates saying to me, "Mate, did you ever play at the Den?" I went, "No." He went, "If you think this is bad, you should have played at the Den." I think same people though, innit? He went, "Yeah, different, mate, different."
I've only ever played the new Den. Yeah.
Last question. Obviously, after leaving Shrewsbury, everybody went to sort of localish clubs like Wrexham, Wolves, Telford. We've all done that. Did you have any reservations about going to those clubs because of your Shrewsbury connections? I think that's more of a general question about also playing for rivals of teams. I think it's different for you, Dave. Shrewsbury to Wolves. That's like a natural step.
I'd have never played for Telford. I'd have never played for Wrexham.
I thought Wrexham was pushing it. I'd never gone to Telford.
Yeah.
No.
I think as a player, you just view it completely differently, don't you? I mean, I also as well. I was from Newcastle and played for Sunderland. But people in Newcastle would go, "How could you ever play for Sunderland?" And I was like, "Well, if Newcastle would give me a 3-year contract, I'll sign there." But Sunderland have, so I'm going to sign there.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember
it's just different, isn't it?
Obviously, I didn't massively play a lot of games at Shrewsbury, but I definitely had an affiliation with some of the fans.
Because you live in here
and lived in the area. People. But I'll be totally honest, I felt like the luckiest lad in the world when I signed for Telford. Because
it's on your doorstep.
Partly, but it's the stadium, innit? I'd made a decision that I was going part-time. And if you're gonna play part-time, and I'd consciously made that decision and turned down full-time offers, if you're going to play part-time, wow, it's 10 minutes from my house. It's a proper stadium with a proper fan base, and I loved the place. Yeah. I used to love running out there, and I think when I played there, we had like 2,500, 3,000 people every week, and I was lucky enough. I say lucky, like my mate Stewie Whitehead obviously played at Shrewsbury. He'd got injured, so they'd give me the armband. So I'm like leading the team out and going, right, well, if I've decided to come away from full-time football because again for the reasons we've discussed previously, and I'm going to play someone part-time, this is where I want to do it. And honestly, that season was one of my favourite, best. The memories, the fans, the players I played with, all still in contact now. Absolutely loved it. Went into the next season, felt like it was taken away under my feet. It all come crashing down on me. Felt as though was totally fed to the supporters that I'd left for money, which definitely wasn't the case. And thankfully I was able to go back.
Also, I'm not even having that. Like, what other job do you get slagged off for leaving somewhere for money? I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah, if under the cosh come in for me and offer me $5,000 a week instead of what I'm getting now, which is zero, I'm off. See you later, lads. I'm on under the cosh. I'll be wheel spinning out this car park and gone.
Absolutely wounded.
It's Dave, ridiculous, isn't it?
Talk to me about that behaviour.
It's the whole Paul Hurst thing, isn't it? Someone goes to treble your wages. I had it with Ryan, Ryan getting hammered from Plymouth, moves back home, league above, probably on 3 times his money. Who's going to say no to that? Alan from Johnson's Cleaners, right? If someone comes in from Smith's Cleaners and offers to treble his money, guess what? Alan's going to leave.
Yeah.
Of course, it's because you've got a family and everything to look after. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world.
I suppose.
Again, you're embarrassed there for leaving for money. Players are embarrassed to say going for more money.
But that was the point, though, for me.
That's all under the kosher ringing.
If it would have been the case, I would have owned it. But I think by the time I'd done the travelling, I was coming away. But I think because we just had probably the most successful season in the club's history, and because we'd gone into the next season, there was definitely that hangover feeling. I always remember just thinking, like, it's been taken away from me. And the way it was done was really unjust. I won't go into detail, but it was horrible. Like, the way it was done, really unjust, really snidey and that. I was offered a contract the year before for the following season, which just got taken away from me, blagged, lied to, and all of the above. So that was, but it was nice to go back, obviously, as a coach, manager, to be able to sort of meet all of those people, explain the situation. But I'll be honest, like, you know, I'm very, very in debt to Shrewsbury for bringing me here. Like, I love the club, love the fact that well,
you still jumped to Telford.
They brought me to the county. I'm very in debt for all of that. Totally love taking my boy to watch him and all of that. But I absolutely was buzzing when I played for Telford and really enjoyed playing for them. Loved managing them. Everything about it. And I suppose it's when you're an outsider in terms of a foreigner, if you like, you don't understand that line, that imaginary line that sits between those 10 minutes.
Did you have any reservations at all, Sam, about Wrexham, or did you not really know of any rivalry or anything like that?
Yeah, I knew there was rivalry, but also I just thought, you know, family, I wanted to stay I mean, I love Shrewsbury, love living in Shrewsbury. Got my wife and my kids all love Shrewsbury. Chance to play for Wrexham, I'm going to play for Wrexham. You know, it's just, where else am I going to go? Didn't really have I can't remember what other offers I had at the time, if any. Looking at other things, when I signed for Tranmere, things like Yeovil, like I've mentioned before, Yeovil, Grimsby, they're all massive upheaval for my family and the kids. So if I can stay where I am, staying in Shrewsbury.
So is it different? Is it different then? Obviously, because like you say, it's so different for a lower league player. Like, I'm not going to Yeovil. If I've got to sign for my rivals, I'm not taking my family, my kids out of school. But is it different if you play for Everton and you sign for Man United?
Yeah, it's different at the very top. I think you've really got to think about a lot more stuff rather than, I'm going to go from Liverpool to Everton because it's close to my house. Do you know what I mean? It don't work. The money doesn't really become as much of an issue then. I think you're more worried about your families than aren't you, and things like that. Because
when I signed for Telford, obviously then I started my degree, started a different life. It was all convenient for me, my family, all of the above. It wasn't to go, flipping, because I've left them, I'm going to stick one on them. It was just like, look, I've got to do this for myself and my family. Again,
that's what everyone will do as well. Every single decision, there'll never be any malice in it. You wouldn't have thought. I can't really think of any signings that have happened like that in the past. But
equally, Dave, you're never signing for West Brom, are you? Like, because it's that can't happen, can it?
No, you wouldn't have signed for West Brom when you went from Wolves.
No,
under no circumstances. No, even to treble your money.
No, I don't know.
Even if your only other offer was something at Bournemouth, you got West Brom or Bournemouth.
Depends, obviously, what point in my career. I think once I'd been at Wolves for a significant amount of time, then that would never happen. Before, I wasn't a Wolves fan when I went to Wolves, but I think after being there for probably 5-6 years, I felt a real part of the club, and then I really struggled to have done anything like that.
Can't do that.
But I think it's different. It's not lower league then, is it? It's not like you've.
And you suppose you're getting. I suppose you're going to get really good money either way.
Yeah, if West Brom are interested in you, then you're not struggling, are you?
Right, well, I think that's everything from Dave, Gavin, Judas. Yeah, from Judy Davis. Really enjoying the podcast. I may have missed it, but can you explain why it's called In the Stiffs?
Have we explained it before? I don't know if we have we?
Come on, Dave, you explain it.
Well, we're struggling to think of names, weren't we, to start with?
Yeah, we tried doing our initials,
and
it was good as...
I think in the Stiffs is about something that goes back to when you're in the reserves, isn't it? And you say, like, I'm in the Stiffs.
I think it dates back to, like, 1900s and stuff like that if you was in the reserves, you were in the Stiffs.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, I know like you have all the great stories from when you win things in promotions and scoring goals, but some of them times, which can be the dark times, but the time to talk about, whereas the tough times where you've been in the reserves, where you've trained on a Saturday morning, and that, some of the rubbish times. Yeah. And I think that's sort of just a little nod to that, isn't it? So these lads who are training on a Saturday morning with the kids and having a bad time, nod to them in the Stiffs.
And equally, there's a bit of humility on our part, isn't it? As a podcast, we're not.
We've all played in the reserves, haven't we?
Yeah. We have, but we're not as well. We're not.
I've told you when I came on a sub at half time, he got taken off for 10 minutes as
well. All been there. But I suppose from a podcast perspective, we're not saying that we're going to be the best at doing this. We're just saying that we're going to give it our best and be your third choice podcast on a Tuesday morning.
Right, well done then, lads. Thank you for that. Enjoyed it.
Cheers, gents.
Need to go to bed, don't we? Look at the time.
What's the time then?
25 to 1.
What? Is
That's
it
ridiculous.
Got a big journey in a couple of days.
I'm off to the Isle of Wight, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Brilliant.
Let's go. Thank you. Gav, how do we do? How do we get in touch
if people
with us?
want to listen to it, it's all on all platforms. We're on In the Stiffs on Twitter, on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to email us, we're inthestiffs@gmail.com.